Ooh, I like that one. New logo. Evening, everybody.
Oh, look at that.
Here.
Eric's in turbo style this week. Straight in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, what's up?
You must have been typing that while the intro was going.
Good evening, Eric. So, tonight, we're going to be discussing all these aliens and drones that's about. Personally, I think it's a shame. It's hard to gauge just what's real anymore, because there's that much CGI, there's that much AI.
AI,
Yeah. There's just people jumping on bandwagon. So I've got a little bit of, it's not an algorithm, but it's a little bit of a, for every 10, I'll take one that's got something to it. So going on that analogy, worldwide, what I have noticed is it's the connected worlds, the connected countries and cities that seem to have more sightings and more reports than anything else. So if you take that, and somebody did put a map up, and I looked at it and I thought, yeah, that's it's a belt that goes all the way across Central America and round globe type of thing. And these are all places that are connected more than anything, media wise. So how much of it is literally just word of mouth or false reports or AI, CGI? How much of it? And how much of it is just literally drones, proper drones? Because I don't know if you saw, but I always get clips sent and this, that, and the other, and there's loads of stuff on my feed. And recently, the go-ahead has been given for these. They look like a little off-roader, but instead of having wheels, they've got propellers. So it is a drone, but it's small car size. And this is what's being reported a lot of. So how much of it is these new drones that are ferrying people?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Can't explain what they look like. They're just little like off-roaders. Have you seen them? They're just tubular metal.
Yeah.
With feet in it and just propellers on each corner instead of a wheel. Has anybody else in chat seen them? What's your opinion? What's your opinion, Eric? Evening, Eric.
Hello, Noreen.
I just literally think, in this instance, this is very similar for me to what we had when these megaliths were popping up all over the world.
Yeah.
I did look at a map of them, and it's a very similar pattern. They said they were popping up all over the world, and yes, in some cases there were extremes. They popped up in the middle of a desert, for example, and there were no footprints. It was quite convincing, you know.
Yeah.
But we've all seen these desert rat films where they can cover the footprints with a bit of bloody branch, you know. Go back next day, end up filming, you know. But I had a conversation with somebody, and then it just clicked like a light bulb in my head. I thought, hold on a minute. One thing I have noticed, for me personally, true sightings tend to be of unidentified objects.
Yeah.
There's no flashing lights. There is no flashing lights involved. They're more like little stars that don't change in size when they're moving. And there's no noise. They, to me, again, personally, they're more convincing. Because if you're trying to be a bit covert as another species flying about in the sky, which you've got no camouflage whatsoever, why would you put flashing lights on your craft?
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, you know what I mean? It never has. I've always found that a bit mystifying. So I think a lot of it, there may be odd one or two that are using that as a disguise to make it look earthly.
Yeah.
But the majority are earthly.
Yeah.
And especially, what's that?
Yeah, Noreen says, I think if they aren't worried about them, then they know what they are. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, exactly. I just think, like I've said, I personally, I think a lot on it is earthly or experiments, or just general public trying to take piss. Hey, let's play as drone tonight, and then we'll send some messages out. You know, we'll get everybody thinking it's a UFO.
Noreen saying seems like a distraction for something. Yeah, they're always pulling that one.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. That's what happened with that with monoliths and everything. That were a distraction.
Yeah, Nicholas saying it's very strange. The videos I've seen, something's going on. Yeah, well,
yeah, exactly.
As with everything, I mean, governments are known for trying to pull a wool over your eyes by distracting you with something else, which is their usual trick.
Yeah, they are. But again, the advancement of our technology is such that I think a lot of it, and it's getting more common, and it stands to reason it's going to get more common. There's going to be people seeing more things. They're annoying. And to me, again, personal, it is to me, it's annoying that you see, I wouldn't say reputable, I can't say reputable people, but well-known people, let's put it that way, in our community. And they're putting videos up of the moon or a star and calling it a UFO. That's just, I don't understand why they do it. Why would you do that? You can clearly see it's moon, because the problem is, yes, we've got all this technology, but the majority of everyday people have got a phone like mine.
Yeah.
And it's fine for taking pictures. It's fine for videoing up to a certain distance. But after that, the technology in it will not focus. It's constantly trying to focus. So if you're trying to do film moon, you need a really steady tripod. And even then it's going to, if there's a cloud, it's going to try to refocus. So I would advocate anybody that's doing any of these videos, if you really, really think that that's what it is, think twice.
Yeah.
And video it twice, and use your equipment properly. You cannot hold a phone camera steady enough for that object in the sky not to look like it's moving, because it's going to do. But it's not that object that's moving, it's your bloody hand. And I wish they'd stop doing it, you know. It's just annoying. But it is what it is, and you can't stop people posting stuff, can you? It's just
no. I mean, on a clear night down here, we can clearly see the space station, and if you didn't know it was a space station, you'd think it's one of the Galactic Empire destroyer ships coming in, because you can see there's just this line of lights.
Yeah. You've got to have a discerning mind, I think, as well. It's like I watched one, and initially I had to look and I had to think. I really had to think, because it was a really nice, steady camera. And all you could see were these lights, and they came from ground, but they were going all different directions.
Yeah.
A bit like, when you get dust in a film when you're doing a bit of paranormal stuff. But
Yeah.
this was the sky, few mile away. You could tell it were a distance. But they got lighter when the mid-range pictures say across my screen like that.
Yeah.
And then when they got even higher, they disappeared. And I thought, oh, that's quite compelling, that. And they were slightly different sizes, because I took some time to look at it. And then I thought, oh my God, I have seen this before. Birds or bats.
Yeah.
Once they get to a certain height, that they're actually on the horizon when they rise.
Yeah.
So the light from the sun is still hitting them for a certain length of time. And then they'll disappear if there's some cloud cover at a certain height. They'll appear to disappear again.
Yeah.
Which makes it look a bit weird. But when you analyze it, it makes sense, because when you saw how they were moving and the speed that they were moving, they were definitely birds, and I've seen that before. It's compelling. It's down to narration, I think, sometimes. If you say it is something, then the mind says, oh, yeah, it is. And it's not. It's not. It's the power of suggestion, isn't it? Suggestive thought. So, yeah, be careful when you look at these videos and this evidence. It's not always what it seems. But it was quite a good video, because, again, it was true. It was actually real. It was the narration that were wrong in this instance. It weren't the AI or CGI. It were a proper film.
Yeah.
But what they said it wasn't. It were definitely birds or bats of some sort, that were taking off, feeding, doing whatever they were doing, catching light, which were reflecting onto camera, because cameras are not like his eyes, and then disappearing again. But they were going up as well as coming down, and that's what sealed it for me, because they were going both ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful. Just be careful, folks. If you see all these AI and this, that, and t'other, now it's not necessarily the case. Before I got back into paranormal properly, maybe I don't know whether I should be saying this, but I'm going to do, because it's historic. It's quite some years ago, maybe early 80s. And one of my mates, he was a prankster, and there was a report, which weren't as common as today, obviously, but there were reports of these UFOs abroad, not in this country, and he jumped on it. Thought, right, because he was a sod for trying to get into paper all the time. He admitted it in.
Oh. He's frozen.
And he stuck them on window in his bedroom.
You'll have to go back, Bri, because you froze for about 2 minutes in.
Right. What did we hear last?
We got to the part where he was a sod for trying to get in the paper.
Right.
And then you froze.
He drew these little alien ships on some paper, cut them out, and stuck them to his bedroom window. And then from inside, he videoed them. And don't forget, back in the day, it was big cine camera jobs, tape things, and they used to jump more than out like this, you know what I mean? So it looked like this UFO were in sky, because he was crafty how he zoomed in so that you couldn't see his bedroom or window or anything. You just saw this thing in sky, or you thought it were, but it was stuck on window, and he got a picture to local paper. man captures UFO. So it just shows back in the day, something as simple as that could dupe people. So when you think about technology that we've got now, and you could do all what he did with a great big clumsy camera today, you can do it on your phone.
Yeah,
In
well,
fact,
what your mate did, that's how they filmed Blake 7, wasn't it?
probably. Space 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you shouldn't use them. I know you're not really allowed to use them, but I've still got it's a decent sturdy tripod, but all it is, it's just a tube on top.
Yeah.
And my laser pen, which wasn't an eye-powered one, but it wasn't your little pen ones, your little,
Yeah.
keyring size. It was slightly
Yeah.
bigger, about big. And it was pretty decent. And it was blue, because blue travels better than red, believe it or not. And I used to stick that in tripod, and if I saw anything like that, I'd literally try to laser point it, because then you get a true representation of movement. Is it moving, or is it us that's moving? Once you've pinpointed it with that laser, it's not going nowhere. It's a true straight line. So you get to know then if that object is moving or it's not. And I've got a lot of things like that. A little experiment that's not related. If you sit as still as you possibly can and focus on your room light fitting, for example.
Yeah.
Power of suggestion, because I've done it. If you tell yourself it's moving, it will start to move. It'll start to shake. But it's not. It's your own bloody head that's moving. Because you can't sit still for too long. It's not physically possible to sit still enough. Because we are physical. We're not an inanimate object. Ooh, that's my big word for tonight. Inanimate. So yeah, we're doing it now. We're sitting here not saying a lot. Evening, Robert.
Hi, Robert.
But my ears are all over the place. My fingers are all over the place. It's not. It's just a condition. It's a human condition. We can't not move. So if you imagine that as eyes are constantly trying to focus, you can't say for definite that that object that you're looking at a mile up is moving or is static. Because again, the Earth's revolving for a start. And I've seen that reported. They'll say, I watched it for a good hour. It's going to move. It's going to appear to move because we've moved. We've revolved.
Yeah.
Like you say with space station. Which one were you looking at? Were you looking at that geostationary, or the one that actually we're moving and it's stood?
Yeah, it's a stationary one.
But it's in orbit with us, or it's not?
No, it's not.
Right. Well, that's it then, you see, because then we're going to move out at its site. It's confusing, and unless you can get a grip, it wasn't a big word for today, Eric. Yes.
Yeah, you might come up with another one, so watch it.
Oh, I've just remembered it. Inanimate. Yeah, I've seen inanimate.
Oh, watch out.
Yeah. So yeah, you just can't. You can't say for definite when your mind starts to play tricks, and when you want to see something, you're more likely to see it, or you're more likely to anything that's closely resembling what you're wanting to see. It'll happen, you know. I think it's a shame though, and again, don't know if you've noticed. Well, you probably haven't, because you ain't got as much time to spare as I have, Ian. You go to work. You're a worker, whereas I've got a lot of time on my hands. So I'm on this thing on social media a hell of a lot, and it's just observations that I have that these people put things up. I have noticed. Don't know whether it's got something to do with it, whether it's the atmosphere or what it is, or just boredom in life. But I have noticed that what's the word I could use rather than trying to be these eccentric people.
Is another big word.
They tend to live in isolated places, in places where there's not a big human population, on the edge of deserts and things like that, or on the edge of forests, where there's not a lot else to do but stargaze or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these people seem to see more than others. Why that is, I don't know, but they do. And these are the people that tend to post the findings. There's two or three in particular. I'm not mentioning no names, but there's two or three in particular that I've noticed do tend to film stars with a crappy mobile phone, and they're not using a tripod, so it's shaking all over. It's moving in the sky, and they look at this, and it's sad. I'm sorry, but it's things like that that lead to misinformation and lead people to think that we're being invaded, because if they've got a big following for other reasons and they're posting things like this, people's going to watch and people's going to agree. It's that mass hysteria thing. So all I can say to everybody is be a little bit more discerning. Look again. Look once, look again, and don't take no notice of the narrative. Say what you see for yourself, not what somebody else has seen, because that power of suggestion it's immense in it, especially if you've got a name for yourself. And I don't know, it's like saying if Pink said, "Oh, I've seen a UFO," everybody's going to be saying, "Yeah, Pink's seen a UFO." No, but Ashy, they didn't question it. There's no question. It's just, yeah, they have. So yeah, be careful. Has anybody got any questions and anything to add?
I mean, exactly what you say. I mean, if Taylor Swift was to see a UFO, God help us, everyone would be seeing them.
Precisely. Yeah, exactly. And he's right, though. The more notoriety you've got, the more fame you've got, the more likely people are going to listen to you. I mean, look at these. And again, in some ways, what's that one? Yeah, I totally get that, definitely. And this is it. It does have something sometimes, Bobby. It does have something to do with where you live, definitely, because there is a lot more up in sky in certain areas. I mean, it's common sense around an airport. You're going to see things, and given the conditions on any day, that aircraft, you could see a jet, for example. You could see a jet taking off. It's got a regular schedule, and it takes off at 9 o'clock, say, every night from so and so and so and so. And they've got the flight paths, so they can't sort of veer too much when they're taking off and landing. They've got to be on this flight path. And you can watch this plane, and it's the same plane or the same type of plane every night. But given the conditions every day, can make it look totally different to what it actually is.
Yeah.
So you've got to bear that in mind. There's so many variables. What's that, Robert?
Yeah, Robert's saying, why have you got a pumpkin in your room?
Robert, you're too observant. Oh, Robert, it's a UFO. And I've said it, so it's got to be right.
Rita saying, hi Ian the Great and Bry the Great. Hello, Rita.
Hi, Rita.
And Bobby saying, we watched the rockets go up from the front yard. Cool, that must be fun.
Yeah. We had a spate of rocket-type UFOs. One thing that was intriguing, because I backed that story up, I went to look at it because I was intrigued by it. Apparently, it's going back again. It's going back to, Christ, early 2000s. And we had what was described as a UFO hitting one of these really big wind turbines. Now, in a place called Louth on East Coast, there is a wind farm. So there's something like 30 or 40 of them in a fairly long stretch at coast. And this UFO apparently hit one and destroyed it basically. But one of the wings, one of the what's the word? Propellers, if you want to call it one of them, literally disappeared. And the report was that this ship had hit it at such a belt and it hit it at such an angle that it literally took it with it. So it didn't even, how big was this spacecraft then? Because it didn't even ground it. It hit this pylon, this wind turbine, destroyed it and took one of the propellers with it. But there were things seen in the sea. Well, I don't know what they call them, Ian. Is it USOs for the UFOs that's seen in sea, in water?
USOs, yeah.
USO. There were a few sightings of USOs. Now, I thought, well, it's going to be too late by the time I get there. But I managed to witness this turbine, and sure enough, one was crumpled, which suggested to me, again, being observant, that there must have been a hell of a lot of heat involved. Because I don't know if you know about the makeup of these turbines, but that's that one.
Bobby saying, however, I also lived in the USO capital of Northeast United States, Pine Bush, New York. We have many experiences living on the mountain. One of my good friends is ufologist Tom Conwell.
Yep.
And Tom is also a published author on the subject. We'll have to get him on sometime.
Yeah.
Hello, William.
Evening, William. Yeah, I digress. Anyway, back to this turbine. The turbine, the propeller that was still there, the one still straight. This other one was crumpled. There must have been a hell of a lot of heat to cause that, because I don't know if you're aware of how they're made, but they're laminated in strips.
Yeah.
So if they actually come and stuck type of thing, they would more than likely be they'd more likely look like withered, not withered leaves, but what's the word? Bit of bloody spaghetti, for lack of a better explanation, hanging off a branch.
Yeah.
Just to delaminate and come apart that way. It just didn't look right, that it were crumpled like a leaf.
Yeah.
And then this other turbine, this other propeller was totally missing. It had gone. And it weren't on floor, because I walked on site. I was a naughty boy and I walked on site, and there was nothing there whatsoever. But strangely enough, the ground was scorched in a line away from it, which it just, I can't explain it. So to me, that was an encounter with something that I'm not aware of, but there was definitely an encounter. It hadn't blown over, it hadn't blown off because it weren't on ground. It was demolished, the top end were hanging off, so something had hit it. Something was in force, but there were no wreckage, so obviously whatever it hit it stayed up.
Yeah.
It's like, like when you kick a ball at crossbar.
Yeah.
The ball carried on going. Well, the object carried on, obviously. And apparently it swerved and went out to sea and went under waves, under sea. So, but as I was there, while I was there, I actually saw what I think that chap in America would describe as a rocket going up. You've got your contrail, wavy contrail going up. And I actually saw that, but I didn't see I can explain it, a man-made object that was leaving that trail. It set off, and again, it must have been atmosphere that made the colour the way it was, because when it came up from horizon, from sea, it was orange. really like a sunset, orange. And as it gathered momentum and lifted, it got lighter and lighter. And when it literally disappeared into clouds, it was a bright yellow. And I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And I've not seen it since. I can't explain it. Now, that to me, that is a UFO.
Yeah.
It might have been man-made, but it was unknown to me. It was an unidentified flying object, most definitely. People need to remember that and think. Do you know, like we were talking about poltergeist and the meaning of poltergeist is just totally altered.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's it, Bobby. Yeah, it's again the stories are the stories, and some are. You could get a sighting from a certain place, like the thing that I've just mentioned. I'm quite articulate, and I can usually find a way to describe what I'm seeing because I take things in. I don't just take things at face value. I'll analyze and try to make sense of it in my head before I mention it. And if you go on that analogy, you could get half a dozen people watching the same thing, and they will all have a different explanation because of the way that they perceive it in their heads. And when you take that into account, imagine when you get in a UFO complaint or getting these reports coming in, they're just going to vary so much because who are they all ringing for one? Because everybody that's taking that call is going to have a different way of taking it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you could have a dozen people saying, "I saw a bright red light." By the time that report has gone through and the person taking that report is gone from a red light to an orange or whatever, you know, and that's just receiving that call.
Yeah.
So what's that person that's seeing it saying? And this is where Chinese whispers come in for me. It's so hard as the human species to get it right.
Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about USOs, there's been a lot of sightings, including those Tic Tac videos from the American naval ships off the coast of California. There's an island that a lot of stuff is going, and I know Expedition X. They looked into it and actually spoke to the two naval officers on board the ship that videoed the Tic Tac, and they said they were going into the water and they could see there was something bigger under the water.
Yeah, they're like abyss.
And then they actually got the guy who was the head of the Pentagon investigation into it. And although he actually quit his job because he was told he wasn't allowed to tell the president, and he thought, but that's the guy I work for. So he quit the job, but he still works for the Pentagon. And they asked him outright, they said, "Do you think there are USOs under the sea in that area?" And he said, yes. He said, but don't ask me any more on it because it's classified.
Well, that's another thing as well. And again, it's all common sense. You know, and now I've got that used to it now. As I say, I spend hours on this thing. No matter what type of video it is, I look at the authenticity. Oh, that's another big word. To start with. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But
yeah, move on.
Yeah, I thought that had been disbanded. That now, move on. Is it under a different name now?
They don't disband stuff.
Well, it changes. I do know it changes. I do watch some of the stuff on that.
It's like the Star Wars project has been decommissioned.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like they're ever going to decommission something that could take a nuclear weapon out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, we were. I've forgotten now. You've sidetracked me.
I've sidetracked you.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think you need to look. You definitely need to look and be a little bit more critical with things. Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, we'll have him on as a guest.
Yeah, we're on every Friday, so just join us on a Friday, 8 o'clock. Be more than happy. We pride ourselves on answering everybody's questions. And reading out, even if it's not a question, if it's just a statement like you just put there, we try to interact. It's something that I think we're getting a bit unique in that, aren't we, Ian? I don't think there's anybody else does it now.
Well,
even though I do, I like the sound of my own voice sometimes, but what the hell?
Well,
at least
it's the thing. I mean, we do topics, and my area of expertise, because no one's an expert, but my specialist area is hauntings, ghosts, etc. So if we're talking about a subject, there's going to be people in the chat that know more than I do. So we're quite happy to have people be part of the show. When I deal with things I have to deal with, there are people I network with to get information. I need to deal with it. But in my point of view, that's what the paranormal community should be about.
I totally agree. And this is why we have so many guests, because as you've just mentioned, we're not experts on anything really. But we try. We will research if we need to, if we get a little bit of something that's our depth. Or beating that, we'll get somebody that knows more than us, but i.e. having a guest. So yeah, by all means, anybody in there that's listening to us, if you think somebody could add to our podcast, by all means, suggest them. Let us know who they are, and we'll get them on.
Yeah, I mean, in our field, I would solemnly say that the experts in our field are the ghosts.
Well, yeah, every time, and the UFOs and the aliens. Yeah, it's I've expanded my knowledge, and I've expanded in paranormal community through doing podcasts. I was very much like Ian. We've both got similar backgrounds. Thank you, Rita. Thank you. It's always good to get it confirmed. Well, we try, don't we? We try to inform people. We have a laugh. We're light-hearted and one thing or another, but we do try to give some information where we can. It all adds to that para community. Oh, hey. I won't say para unity. I don't agree with it. You all know my views on that, because it's just you scratch my back, you scratch yours where that's concerned. I see deeper than that. I really do see deeper than that. Helping somebody out. By God, you did that without moving your lips, Ian.
I'm a clever guy, anyway.
A ventriloquist. Yeah, it's like as long as you put me off again. What's that one? That's good. That's good. Yeah. The more the merrier.
Salute. Yes, mate.
So yeah, since we've been doing it, I mean, I started like you, just sensitive to spirit. I'm more into paranormal as in pure state, which is talking and communicating with spirit. But I didn't have connections with anybody. I've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I started, you didn't speak about it because it was a bit taboo. And as time's gone on, and popular shows, which I don't agree with, but they have made it acceptable.
Yeah.
So they've done service in one respect. They've made it mainstream rather than it being like, underground. So I'll thank them for that, but nothing else. But through that and through social media, I've embraced technology to some extent, even though I'm a technophobe. I'm doing this. Look at me. I'm doing a podcast. You know what I mean? Who'd have thought that
Yeah.
20 years ago? There's no way on earth I'd have said that I'd be sat broadcasting to thousands of people on my phone. I'd have laughed. But there you go. It is what it is. But it's a platform. And if we can inform people and help people make more sensible judgment to things and analyze things in every genre of paranormal, that's my aim. I don't want to take away from anybody. I just like them to do what they do a little bit more responsible sometimes and, gather information for the greater good.
Yeah.
If
I mean, at
feel
the end of the day, we're all after the same thing, which is the truth.
Yeah.
And by educating each other from our experiences, that's how we progress and we get nearer the truth.
Yeah, unfortunately, the human factor gets in the way. And as I've mentioned before, some countries have to make a living. They have to make a living.
Yeah.
So you can understand how that gets diluted. The purity gets diluted because it becomes a job.
Yeah.
And for me, with things like this, it shouldn't really be about a job, because the truth then can get smoothed over for profit. And for me, this is what's happening with a lot of these venues. I'm quite proud to say that I've never paid to do a venue because I don't agree with them. For me, it's more about money than spirit.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I honestly don't think there's a connection whatsoever, apart from in its purity. I have got a belief where, for me, alien involvement goes back to the beginning. I believe that we've been manipulated. I think we were initially an experiment. If you look at all the history and all the supernatural beings that we've sort of, like I was saying not long since, about how we depict things, how we mention things. I believe a lot of the gods, so-called gods, and fabled creatures and one thing or another, like, the Horus and the like. I think they were aliens. And then when they've done their experiments, they've left us behind. And now they're coming back to see how that experiment's doing on its own. So we're an experiment for me, for these alien species. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but if you think about it on that respect, maybe Bigfoot and some of the other cryptids were experiments that they've left behind, expecting them to die out. Now, they've not become as prolific as the human side of it, but they still exist. I just think that we're all one big experiment. That's my belief. Take from that what you want.
Yeah. It just seems funny that, like, you get different people in the human race on different continents, and the Bigfoot similarities with other cryptids it's the same sort of thing. Like you've got Alaskan Bigfoots, you've got Yetis, you've got swamp beasts. They're all a similar thing, but like humans, depending on where they've come from in the world, they're a slightly different species.
Exactly, they've evolved slightly different, but it's still as well. If the thing that makes sense in my head, my analogy of it is even the godlike creatures, the godlike people. If you look at South America, Aztecs and Mayans and this that, they had very, very similar gods. Don't ask me to quote the names because I can't think of names whatsoever, but I can see them. There's one guy there with wings. The South American version, the wings look more solid, more mechanical than real. But in the Egyptian version, what they call him, he's got a name. Is it Horus? He's like a dog's head with wings. Well, there's a similar version in South America. Now, these things are in totally different continents where we couldn't travel at that time, but they're depicting similar creatures. So again, it makes sense. It makes what we've just mentioned about actual creatures. It makes it make even more sense because if we're depicting things like that don't exist anymore, or if they do exist, they're not on Earth, they're buggered off. It's fascinating.
Hello, Mark.
Yeah, evening, Mark. Yeah, so what do you think, guys? You know, does it make sense to you? As I said, I tend to try to make sense in my own head of things which are mainstreamly known, but to me the explanation doesn't make a lot of sense. So I try to make sense of what we've got. So I'm piecing together, just like everybody else, a little bit Chinese whispers, but I think with more of an informative idea.
Yeah, Anubis. Yeah, I was trying to think.
Yeah. Is that the guy with wings as well? Does he have wings? Because there's
he's got the head of a dog.
Yeah, there's a South American. Is it Coaxipetl? Something like that. Coaxipetl. That's a similar creature, similar god. He's got a dog's head and he's got wings, but the wings look more mechanical rather than natural wings. But it's to all intent. If you stood them outside of each other, you would say that they were the same god. Definitely.
Yeah, Bobby's saying, so are you saying we're created through intelligent design? One of the stories is that we were created as slaves for the Anunnaki. I tell you what, a funny thing is, you talked about the Anunnaki. Every day I've been on Facebook or social media for the last month, I keep getting these stories about the Anunnaki. Why are we being flooded with that?
Yeah. If you look at it, like I've said, that we were an experiment, then more than likely, yes, we were slaves. We were slaves. They used a certain amount of population as their slaves, but it still doesn't take away from it was an experiment. If we were literally slaves in that essence, and they were the ruling class of the planet, why aren't we still slaves to some sort of subservient creature that they left behind?
Yeah, I mean, the story is they came here to mine gold, didn't they?
Well, that's the same, but were they? Were they? I think there were more than just gold. There were probably lots of different minerals and this, that, and other. I mean, there is some continents that there's no evidence that we've used the materials that were extracted, but the materials nonetheless have been extracted and used up. There's no more of that mineral on Earth. So where did it go? It all adds to that otherworldly beings have used them. You know, they keep visiting us, they're keeping an eye on us, but you know, they could come back and take over and make slaves of a lot of people. They can't enslave the full planet, but not far off.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, but why would they? As I say, it's not that sort of relationship. It was an experiment for me, and they've used us. They've taken stuff from planet. It's a rich planet in the universe, in the scheme of things. So yeah, they'll have used us, but what technology doesn't use other things?
Yeah.
It's a common thing to happen, isn't it? We're all think we're above another species. Look at us with pets. We're doing exactly the same thing as they did. I think we mirror what they did and what they've left us. We have pets. I don't actually agree with pets either. But you know, we have pets. What's that if it's not enslavement? If it's not for his own gratification?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, Robert's saying, how did they form stones for the walls in Peru? That is a good point. But I mean, as well as things like that, because they're perfect engineers, they've even got perfectly engineered sewers and waterways, and and the precision is completely mind blowing.
No,
but they have found. They found evidence that there was a nuclear power plant that's over 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
And they found batteries, although they were like coconut shells, you know, not as good as our Duracell, but it's there, you know.
Well, you said that, but if you found a Duracell 1,000 years from now, could you get it to work? Because the coconut shells that you're on about with copper electrodes,
they
literally had a scrub, had some fruit juice stuck in them, and they work. Exactly. They work.
Yeah.
It's 1,000-year-old, so yeah, I totally get it. I mean, we recreated a lot of things, little LCD watches, and but do you remember the clocks that you just stuck them in a tatty or an orange?
Right, yeah, potato clock, yeah.
That was taken from that. So
yeah, BMO is saying Pazuzu is the Akkadian dog-headed god with eagle feet and clawed hands, 4 wings. That could be the one you're thinking of.
No, I think it was Quetzalcoatl or something similar to that. But there's lots of similarities, and like I've said, these civilizations, there was apparently no travel between continents back then. We didn't actually own the technology ourselves. We've been given the technology as time's gone on, and we've been fed it slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So they want to. I just think we're an experiment. We really are an experiment, and they will come back. This is why you hear a lot of people saying they're coming back. They're coming back. Why would people say that? I think it's in your DNA. There's a certain amount of people, old families, let's say, old bloodlines that retain this knowledge.
So, yes, I think we've had a reset more than once.
Yeah.
It's like the Aztecs. Where did they disappear to? They were quite well advanced.
Just a minute, I've dropped my cig. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, the Aztecs, they disappeared. They were quite. I mean, they're even finding in Aztec drawings and carvings and that what things that look like iPads or.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, we're Egyptian.
They did not have the technology back then. It may have been slightly different, but
yeah, there's these gold things, isn't there, with Egyptians that looks like a jet, and they've made a model of it, and it's aerodynamic. They fly like a glider. But these are just from depictions and little models. there's also pictures of helicopters in these hieroglyphs. So why? Why?
Well, there's Quetzalcoatl. That's the Mayan god. Looks like a winged serpent.
That's probably the one.
Yeah.
I know it began with a Q. So
Think about it. Robert's saying, think about it. Take all the key players out of the game. Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the thing is, if there is resets going on, it's because we're getting too advanced or getting to a level that someone doesn't want us to get to.
yeah. Well, here's one for you then. In human terms, it's been spoken a lot of the 1% or the 2%. If you take that from your analogy, Robert, maybe the 1% and the 2% are the aliens that are coming back. They are the ruling class. At the end of the day, they've manipulated us.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, when your subjects start to think of them as themselves as gods, they get done in. And he's saying with every single person that takes themselves on as a god. I mean, look at Caesar, look at Hitler. There is figures in there through history that think they're above the rest.
Yeah, and then they get taken down, which is the usual.
Get taken out. Eventually, they get taken out. And that civilization disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, like I said, there's depictions of helicopters, even
Yes.
the open door on the
Yeah.
helicopter. The people sat. There's also depictions of rockets, spaceships, because you've got your dome like that, and then you've got two seats inside with people sat there with helmets on.
Yeah.
That's in hieroglyph. So
But
there's
they
lots
didn't
of-
have Airwolf, did they?
What?
They never had Airwolf.
You never know. If you look at films again, the human mimic, the way that humans mimic things or try to make sense of them. You can look at films. Now, I know that the science fiction, for example, a lot of 50s science fiction films are now science fact. And we've done that through all our existence. I mean, look at, we were talking about USOs. Look at Abyss. That film is phenomenal. And for me personally, the likelihood of that being real is more likely than watching a cowboy film. You know what I mean? Because a lot of cowboy films, that's just total fiction. But people think it's real. Yeah, astronaut. Yeah. There's depictions of that. Also, when it shows you in lots of depictions, especially South American, when it shows you divine beings, so-called divine beings, it's being interpreted as a halo. In a lot of civilizations, you will see a halo of this ruling person. But when you look at other civilizations, the picture is exactly the same. The only difference is there's a little thin line that makes it look like a helmet. So are they trying to, like I said, with Chinese whispers, are they trying to depict that? But they've just missed a little bit off of the picture. I mean, how many kids draw an elephant and it's got 5 legs? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's what you've seen. I always said, don't take everything as read. Investigate it. Make sense of it. If it's not making sense, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And it's either a mistake or they've left something out. So try and piece it together. Go that extra fragment. Make sense of it. Make it add up.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Did they create the Great Flood? No, actually, I don't think they did. I've got an explanation for that one as well, Robert. I believe there were a mass exodus. The ark, which there is no physical proof to, and the reason for that in my head, this is a perfect example of trying to examine things and put things together. The reason why it makes sense in my head is I add things to it. So the ship, the ark, is not terrestrial, it's extraterrestrial. So I think they came, they knew there was impending danger on this planet, so they came and took us, but even they didn't have the technology to fit massive dinosaurs in their craft. So they left them. And some species became extinct, i.e., the dinosaurs. But there is examples that weren't too big, like your mammoths and your alligators, which were mosasaurs. Everything that were taken off at planet, we evolved slightly off planet before before Earth was fit to inhabit again, and then they brought us back. Now, if you look at all the archaeological records, there's a missing link in the chain of evolution. I believe that happened off planet. Then they brought us back, and we carried on evolving, and we have ever since. 9 new species. Now that makes more sense in my head than all the species on Earth jumping on a ship and surviving for how many days or whatever, and then repopulating planets. Where does that give a missing link in archaeological file? Because it's not just humans that's got that missing link, it's all species. There's a dead spot on planet, and that dead spot comes from when there was an asteroid that hit the Earth with such a force that it caused a tsunami, which caused a flood. See where I'm going? It all makes more sense to me in my head. It's logical. It's a lot more logical than Bible. Yeah, Aboriginal, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And all Aboriginal cultures have a similar story. But again, they've made sense of it in their own way. So there's slight differences, there's subtle differences, like I mentioned with this god from South America and the god from Egypt. They look very similar, but they're just slightly being diluted or altered because of the different cultures.
Yes.
Right planet. Just like like I've said, we've evolved differently right planet, slightly.
Yeah. And
we'll carry on doing that. Well, I'm saying we'll carry on doing that. If we hadn't bridged that gap with technology, I really do believe that we would have. Different cultures evolved slightly differently, even more. But because we're diluting it now, because of travel, all cultures are mingled, so there's less chance of that happening. So we've changed it. We've changed this course.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason why they're going to come back and maybe thin as out. Basically, what's happening? What's happening in the world? We're getting thinned out. They're trying to stop us traveling. Why do you think that is? Maybe we've interrupted that experiment.
Yeah.
There's lots of connotations to it. It's fascinating, isn't it? Well, I think so. Yeah, definitely. I mean, what was the original Big Bang? It was 2 stars or 2 planets colliding, and because of the different chemistry, it sparked life. They're now saying that what sparked life on Earth was an asteroid. And because of the chemicals on that asteroid, it sparked life in the seas, and we've evolved.
Yeah. Bobby saying we were made of stardust. Well, if you consider carbon being stardust, then that's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
most life forms consist of, isn't it?
Hmm. Anywho, we've gone over his hour. That
Yeah.
I know we said that our shows tend to fly, but that one really has. That's
really has, yeah.
like 5 minutes, that one. But thanks for your input, guys. Thanks for joining us. And we may actually, as next show, I don't know what we're doing. Are we doing one next week, or are we leaving it now for Christmas? Are we in a break?
Yeah, should we have a break for Christmas? I'm trying to think.
We've got us quiz, haven't we? We've got us quiz on Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah. We'll
Which
be on
is
the
what
Spooky Network on the Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
A week's break, or do you want to leave it while New Year?
Right. So next week's the 27th. We could come back on the 3rd. That's not too bad, is it? We could have a week off, back on the 3rd. How's that?
We'll do that. We'll have a week off then, guys, and we'll be back on the 3rd. So put it in your diaries and come and join us. Been brilliant. I've enjoyed tonight, actually. I didn't know what we were going to do, but we've gone down a rabbit hole again.
Yeah. Come back on the 1st. We may have recovered from New Year.
Yeah. Or we may not have.
Well, yeah.
Because to be totally honest with you, I don't really celebrate Christmas much anymore. But that is New Year's Eve is the one night that I go out and get proper rat-assed. I really do. I'm a bit Scottish in that respect. You know, I think I'm like Scottish. I do celebrate New Year's Eve. Go out and proper let me hair down.
But you're no proper Scottish like me, because we celebrate Hogmanay for a month, mate.
Well, you never know. I'm closer to Scotland than you are.
That is very true, my son.
No, I don't know. No, my roots come from Prussia, modern day Poland. But, yes, I've got blue blood in my veins, you know, Prussian royalty back in 1500s. But that's another story.
Well,
you never know. I might be alien in origin.
Oh yeah, you could be one of them. You could be a reptilian. You are wearing green, so.
No, I'm not cold-blooded. Definitely not. No, I'm not. Right. Well, thank you for that, everybody, and we'll see you on the 3rd. If you can join us, please do.
Yeah, and in the meantime, have a great Christmas and a very happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2025.
And the same from me. Have a good one. Bye for now.
Bye.